Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over the Rock Island Armory. This one here is the 9mm 1911. Definitely a budget priced gun, but you guys have seen not this gun, but the predecessor of this on the channel a lot over the years because number one, it's relatively cheap to shoot, being 9mm. Shoots well, been extremely reliable. The wife likes it, so whenever she comes out, we take it out. But this is the current version, the one that's in production now, so it's got the new roll mark there, as you can see on the slide. And we're just going to keep shooting it, and then step inside, take a look at it, some of the details of it, the materials used, how to break it down, all that stuff. And after that, we'll give you the final take on it, if you will. Rock Island 1911s are really known for being feature-laden guns, especially for the money. Now, this one here has a ton of features that you find on higher-end pistols, and I suppose we'll just go over a few of them. First up, we have Novak-style sights. These ones are black front and rear. You can see on the rear there is the little dots where you'd put the two dots. However, they are all black. So a lot of folks who are target shooters are really going to like that. I personally prefer at least one dot up front, but it's a personal preference thing, not a quality thing. And one thing to point out about the sights is that they're Novak style sights. They're not Novak cut sights. That used to be a really big issue with the Rock Island guns. If you wanted to replace the sights, there really weren't a lot out there. Now I know there's several companies that are making sights, replacement sights for Rock Island guns, just due to the popularity of the guns, and the demand is there. So if you do want to replace them, make sure you get the right cut. Working our way around the gun, you'll see that there is a skeletonized hammer here on the back. You also have a large memory bumps grip safety, so when you engage it, it's almost impossible not to positively engage that grip safety. The thumb safety on the pistol is ambidextrous, and as you can hear and probably see, it engages very positively, both audibly and tactilely, so you certainly can't complain about that. There's some pistols that are going to cost a lot more than this that don't have that kind of safety engagement. Moving on to the trigger, you can see it's a skeletonized trigger with the over travel screw in there. In terms of the actual trigger pull itself, it pulls right around 4.5 pounds on my scale. So there's a little bit of a take up there and slop, if you will, I guess, in the initial pull. And then once you hit your wall, very clean and crisp break, as you'd expect from a 1911. There is some over travel though. Like I said, you can adjust that should you desire to. But very good trigger overall with a real clean pull, especially considering what the pistol costs. The pistol also features a lowered and flared ejection port for positive ejection during cycling. As you can see here, I'm pushing down very hard on the barrel, and it is not moving at all, just like you'd expect it to on a nicely built 1911. So the engagement there is excellent. You can also see up here on the front of the pistol, this is new. My original 1911 9mm tactical from Rock Island did not have this these lines here up front. They do help a little bit when gripping the pistol. However, I'd like to see some checkering for, sort of a more positive grip, especially when paired with these wood grips. A lot of folks out there like wood grips just for the nostalgic look and feel of them, and for that, certainly I say they do a good job. However, for holding on, if your hands are sweaty, bloody, or in the rain, they certainly could be a little bit grippier, in my opinion, but it's a personal preference thing largely. We'll disassemble the pistol to show you that process, as well as some of the things you're going to find on the inside of the gun. I'm going to use a bushing wrench here, and we're just going to push down our plug and rotate over our barrel bushing. Of course, you can do this by hand if you'd like, personal preference, but this one here is not my gun, so I'm not going to do it to someone else's gun. I'm going to rotate our bushing out, over, and at this point we can put our safety down, line up the notch there, push that through, pull it out. The slide will come off at this point. You'll note that there is a full-length guide rod. We'll remove our bushing now, I suppose. You'll note that there is a full-length guide rod. Sort of a controversial thing in the 1911 world. Honestly, I don't notice a difference between this and the GI bushing. I don't notice a difference in performance. The only thing that I really notice a difference in is weight. So there's a little bit more weight up front. Other than that, it's personal preference, really. At this point, we can slide our barrel out. couple notes on the barrel here. You'll see that it does have an 11-degree target crown. Certainly a nice feature there. And the gun is extremely accurate. All the 9mm 1911s I've ever fired from rock climbing have been exceptionally accurate. So you certainly cannot complain about that. On the inside, you'll see minimal, very, very minimal tooling marks. Largely, they're mostly cleaned up. But again, you have to keep in mind this is a price point pistol. These are going to be available most places for under $500. So it is what it is. In terms of that, you'll notice there is a Series 70 gun, so that does contribute to a much better trigger pro, in my opinion, a lot less grit and mush during the break. Series 70 pistols, in my opinion, are very safe, and you don't have to worry about them. Some folks out there may disagree, however, I don't see an issue with it at all. On the frame here, you'll notice that we do have polished feed ramp there, and where it interfaces with the barrel, it's all opened up there, has a large sort of mouth for feeding bullets reliably, particularly hollow points. This gun here has been 100% reliable, has never had a malfunction. Reassembly is essentially the same process backwards. We're going to put our barrel in, making sure our link is forward. Do that. And at this point, we can put our barrel bushing back in. You want to make sure that your little tab here lines up with the gap in your slide, like that. I'll rotate it back over. Put our guide rod back in. The reassembly, I suppose, with this guide rod is a little different than some folks are used to who aren't used to the full length guide rod, but that's how you're going to slide it in. And we're going to put our frame back on, making sure our link here, barrel link, is forward, resting up against that full length guide rod. That may have just jacked it up, we'll see. And we'll put that in, yep. You can see that we have the hole there as we should. And we're going to push this through in that hole. Now, I've said it before on camera, and I still stand by it. A lot of folks are very concerned with creating an idiot scratch in their gun. I'm not all that concerned with it. I simply don't really care about the scratches on my guns. But to avoid that, what you're going to want to do is put your link in a little bit, or your slide release in a little bit, and just kind of line it up there. And once we have the hole or the cutout there and the slide lined up, now we're going to push it through. If it's a little bit stiff, you can use a credit card or a razor or whatever the case may be to push your plunger back. This one here is not too bad in that regard. So we'll send the slide forward, put the safety up. Now we can put our spring in. We'll make sure the flat side goes back. Incidentally, they do use a Wolf 12-pound spring on the 9mm pistols. We'll put our plug back in and rotate. And again, this thing is a little bit on the tight side. Not my gun, don't want to jack it up. So push that down, rotate. At this point, you always want to function test your pistols. Make sure everything's working just fine. Safety down, grip safety engaged, and the trigger resets. When it comes to 1911s, there's usually two different things that are going to cause malfunctions, at least primarily. Number one is going to be extractor tension can be off. Number two is going to be magazines. Now, one thing I can tell you in my experience with 9mm 1911s, to include my 9mm 1911 from Rock Island Armory, the only time it's ever had malfunction is with the factory magazines, the 9+1 magazine. That said, when using Wilson Combat, they make I believe it's their ETM magazine, 10-rounder. Never had a single malfunction. So if you are having issues, generally the first thing I'd take a look at with these guns is going to be this magazine. However, the gun ships with one mag, like I said, and the owner reports that this gun's never had any malfunctions in my shooting. It's never had any malfunctions, and the only mag that's been used in it is this one right here. So certainly it could be an anomaly to my gun, I don't know, but just pointing that fact out there, that with 1911s in general, particularly 9mm, the magazines sort of are hit and miss, with the exception, in my experience, of the ETMs from Wilson Combat. So just a side note there, but really, this gun at the price point that it comes in at is just an awesome value. Lots of people like it. It's a very soft shooting gun, as you can imagine, 9mm chambered 1911, and with a 5-inch barrel, you're going to get good velocity out of it, regardless of what kind of rounds you're using. It's an accurate gun, inherently so, with the barrel lockup and the bushing fit that this gun has. And really, all I would do to it if it was my gun is upgrade the sights and slap some different grips on it and insert some ammo. But if you guys have any questions about this gun or anything else to talk about here on the channel, you can always post below in the comment section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.